What's going on, YouTubers? What's going on, Gunners, subscribers? Real big day today. Real hectic day. Today, not hectic, a lot of excitement. We are doing brake lines today on Project Driver. We are going to help you understand how to do your own brake lines. We are doing wiring today, wire tuck in the fenders, cleaning up some of the harness. And we are installing the motor. We went with the majority vote of black valve cover. I'll show you guys that in a second. But yeah, more teaching, more educating, more positivity, man. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all the positive comments. I read everyone. I try to like every comment. All right, let's gear up. Let's go, and let's start gunning. Project Driver, motor's 100% ready. Injectors are in. We're gonna have to change some clips. I picked up a harness from a gunner that's over there. I cleaned that up real nice with some with a brush and some regular old purple power. But I got to clean up some of these clips really nice. Not bad. Not too bad for a 2002 harness. And we got some brake lines here. 3/16. 10 millimeter by 1 fitting at the ends, and we are going to, we put a new brake booster in here, well, a used brake booster or whatnot. So we're going to start making the lines here because the last owner obviously cut the line. So we're going to make a union at the bottom so we can have a straight line coming up. We've got our proportioning valve in. Luckily we had one in the stash, and that's it. Trappy is in there getting the wiring done, kicking butt as usual. And some real hack job stuff that was done on here, but we're going to clean all this up nice and neat, shrink tube whatever is needed, and that's it. We got our flare kit here. Yeah, I'm excited. Let's get to work. Right now we got some line measurements here. We labeled the proportioning valve. So you got the yard that faces back, that's obviously the rear. So the top one is left rear, which is passenger. The bottom one is right rear, which is driver's side rear. And then you have your brake master cylinder that goes here for front and rear. And then these are the right and left brake lines. So I hope that helps out. We'll also get the lines all finished up for you, and you'll be able to see it much better. And we got this wiring disaster that we're fixing here. So these wires are for like fog lights and AC, which we're not using. We're going to get rid of these from the inside. And then on this end, we have headlight, corner, and then the ground signal and fan. So I'll show you guys exactly how we'll clean all that up and then get it nice and neat here. Some butchering went on right here. Probably just cut it out, sand it, and then put some anti-rust on it. I want this chassis to stay good and clean. But we're moving right along, man. We're gonna pipe cut some of the fuel lines down there so we can set up the fuel system here for the regulator. And yeah, that's it. Trappy's doing an awesome job with these lines here. So these lines are fairly simple to bend. So what we did on the vise was we set up a 19 millimeter socket, and that's how we're getting those nice clean bends. We just use the line. I'll show you when he comes to move an angle again. We just use that so we can actually make the bends that we need. So something as simple as this. I couldn't really find a line wrench, so my boy Bobby's just suggested us to do it this way, and it worked out great. We're using a 19 mil. Shout out to the pita bread. We just had some breakfast. I got my pipe cutter right here, and Trappy has marked the mark, Trappy has made a mark on where we're actually cutting it because the line is too long, and then we add our own flare at the end with the kit that we've purchased. So if you've never used a pipe cutter, it's very easy, it's very simple, and honestly, to me it's fun. So just sit it in there, we'll close it up a little bit. Let's see if I can focus more on my hands here. Okay, so we focus up here a little bit. Get it to our mark, and it's right about there. So we close up the pipe cutter. Okay, so you put a little tension on it, right? Put a little tension on it, and then you turn. And then when you start to feel that this is turning too easy, add a little bit more tension. Keep cutting. So get to about right here. And sometimes these blades dull out, but it's doing a good job. We're almost there, I feel it. Pause. Yeah, it's a nice cut. It's maxed out. Right there. Cut it nice and even. Now we'll add a flare on this end. So now we have our brake flare kit, double flare kit. And you basically go to 3/16 because that's the line that we're using. And then you have your tool here and the bar. So go ahead, Trappy. And then you have this dowel that's marked 3/16 that you use to stick inside to the line. Okay, so we take our line and we really clamp down on it on the 3/16 slot because this is a 3/16 line, obviously, correct? So you really got to grip it hard, pause, so it doesn't slip down. So from there, you add your 3/16 dowel, or whatever's going to make the kit, whatever you want to call it, and then Trappy will show you the rest. You take the clamp, you slide that over, like yonder, and you go down, because now you're adding the flare to the line after we just cut it, so that it locks into wherever you're putting it into, whatever part of the brake system it is, and your actual nut doesn't slip off of it. That's that. Take off the clamp. Run that through so you can open it up because you're double flaring it. Twist that in there. Done. That's one line. We made the exact bend that we need, and this is ready for installation. Sorry about this angle. This is all I got right now with this tripod that I'm holding. I'm on the passenger side of the front of the car, and I have a whole bunch of wiring that I had to patch up, and we are going to put all this together nice and neat. So on the passenger side, the only thing you should have is your fan, your ground circuit, your corner lights, and your headlight. The other side's even cleaner. I think the other side's only going to be about 4 or 5 wires. So I'm going to take all of these, I'm going to put them together with electric tape, I'm going to zip tie them, I'm going to make them as neat and clean as possible. And I'm going to take this ground circuit, I'm going to clean off the chassis, and that's going to be my ground for this entire side. So on the passenger side, it's going to control the headlight, the corners, and the fan. So now with this side of the harness, all I'm doing is, I don't have any fancy loom, any big shrink tube. So what I did was, I'm just putting all these wires together now that are coming from inside the chassis, because this car's fuse box is inside. So I'm simply pulling on the wire nice and easy, and I'm bringing down the tape in a diagonal form. You see that I'm not going straight. So I'm coming down in an angle like this. And I'm putting all these wires together until I get here, and then I start to separate my junctions. But everything is shrink tube, whatever wire that needed to be tubed. And there were some wires I didn't have to touch. So now as we get to this point here, we'll start separating headlight from everything else. Everything is going to get fed off this ground circuit. So we still hold that wire together if you want to twist it just a little bit. But this is it's gonna look nice and clean when I'm done. Alright now folks, I've got my fan here. Come on. I suck at this focusing thing. Alright, I got my fan here. I've got my headlight here. Now I don't mind this ground circuit because I left it open because I don't know if everything is going to be 100%. Maybe I have to add a ground. So I cleaned this part up. I added my ground here. I have my corner light here. And then I'm coming up this way. They butchered this, whoever the last owner was. And then I ran some holders up through here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and my wire tuck is done on this side. I mean, could have done it with, you know, shrink tube and all that, but I don't have that right now, so I'm dealing with the cards I got. So corners are good, hopefully. Headlights are good, and fan is good. Wire tuck. So back to the brake line part. It's fairly easy, man. You just really take your time. Trappy did a great job with this. He's bending the last line for the front now, and that's about it. We're going to add these holders here so this line can be less flimsy. So we'll probably put one right there nice and neat with a self-tapper. Check the way that lined up right there. Remember we put the steel braided lines. Nice and tight. It's good to go. We're almost done. We got 2 more brake lines. We'll begin the union under the car. But if you guys need some kind of reference, remember you have your top 2 here. They run under, they come down, and they belong to this part of the proportioning valve, the first 2 here. So this is rear. Follow that so you get your line that belongs. Rear is back, and then front is up, down, loops around, goes up, and comes through here. There goes your reference. Now we're doing the back. We're doing the rear discs. So we didn't start the union from the bottom of the rail on the bottom. So what we did was we bought a 3/16 union. So right here, Chopper, you know how to zoom in? So right here, we took off this shielding, and what we did there was you stick this guy in first. We're just making a union from one line to another. You stick this guy in second, straight down. You thread this in lightly. Keep this down a little bit so that that middle dowel, whatever it's called, doesn't move. And then that's where we're going to make the union. So I'm cutting the pipe from this side of the proportioning valve onto here. done. So this is out. We'll measure our line here. We'll go up. Thread this guy in first, and then we'll do some more bending. But we're literally almost done. We've got 2 more lines to finish. So now we're just gonna find the right bend to get this guy into here. Okay, so our pressure unions are in. We've got all our brakes all finished up here. We added the flare here to the feed and return. Yeah, Trappy, put it on. All right, so the bigger one, point to the bigger one, pause. So the bigger one is always the feed. The smaller one is the return. So we have our lines made. We added the flare so it could just help it so we don't leak. And that's it. Fuel system is done, believe it or not. Put 2 clamps down there and we're done. So you have your return here and your feed there with an inline filter. And then there's going to be a dash 6 to 8 that's going to go to the rail. We'll put a gauge on there, and we are about to put this motor in right now.